Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin and Ethereum are still running into this important support, while in the short term, this bullish divergence is potentially about to break, which I'll talk about in just a moment, so definitely stick around. First of all, starting off on the 4-day Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin is basically trading where it was a few days ago here on the larger timeframes. And so essentially right now, this larger bearish divergence is technically still active, but as of right now, we have not yet invalidated the larger multi-month long bullish trend that we've seen since the beginning of this year. And so once again, over the last 1 to 2 days or so, not much has changed on the 4-day chart. So if you're new to the channel and you want to know more about this chart and this time frame right here, then check out my last few videos here on the channel. So getting straight into the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now, as of recording this video, technically speaking, this bearish divergence on the daily time frame is still currently active because the RSI and the price action have both technically not invalidated the short-term bearish trend. And on top of that, in order to help invalidate this previous bearish divergence, we really need to see a breakout in the RSI above this descending line of resistance, which obviously as of right now has not yet happened. But obviously in the more imminent short term, just talking about the last few days or so, obviously we have taken a bit of a pause from this short-term bearish trend. And once again, this is due to multiple factors, like for example, the price running into major support sitting in between around 24.3k to 25.3k. And on top of that, if you're looking at the daily Bitcoin RSI once again, even though this is trending to the downside, as of right now, this is still sitting in oversold territories, and usually when the daily Bitcoin RSI enters into oversold territories, this basically means the price of Bitcoin went too far to the downside too quickly, at least in the shorter term. And so what that means for Bitcoin next is essentially we're due to see a reset in the RSI, which plays out in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a slight bullish relief in the shorter term, talking about the coming days or potentially over the next 1 to 2 weeks. But remember, it's already been close to 1 week now that this short-term pause from the bearish trend is playing out. And in that time, the RSI has moved back to the upside a little bit, but obviously, once again, right now, it is still sitting in oversold territories, which technically means we still need to help reset the RSI to the upside, which once again plays out in the form of relatively neutral price action, if not some slight bullish price action just in the shorter term here. But as I've been talking about over the last few days, it is important to understand that this signal by itself does not necessarily cancel the short-term bearish trend, because, for example, it could be possible for the price of Bitcoin to play out a bit more of a pause from this bearish trend over the next 1 week, for example, and then that could perhaps help to reset the RSI further back to the upside out of those oversold territories, which could actually give us some more room to the downside later on. And so once again, due to that possibility, I'm not saying that that's definitely going to happen, but due to that possibility, this signal by itself does not necessarily mean that the short-term bearish trend is over. But once again, what it does mean is just in the imminent short term, talking about at least the next few days or so, we're still likely going to see a bit more of a pause from this bearish trend, so not much bearish price action in the imminent short term. But speaking of the short term, zooming into the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, and right now, as of recording this video, the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI is testing this important ascending line of support. And the reason why this is important is because if the RSI starts breaking to the downside here, and if it starts actually forming more of a downtrend, forming lower highs and lower lows, then in that case, those would actually be signals to help invalidate this previous 4-hour bullish divergence. And once again, as I've been saying over the last few days, since all the way back around here, this 4-hour bullish divergence is another signal pointing towards a bit of a pause from that short-term bearish trend, because obviously a bullish divergence means that we're due to see less bearish momentum just in the short term, which usually plays out in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a slight bullish relief, which is kind of like what we've seen over the last few days. And so once again, this will likely continue to play out over the next few days, especially if the RSI on the 4-hour chart can hold above this line of support, which would mean this bullish divergence remains active. But if we start to see a breakdown in the RSI, then then once again, that would be a sign that this bullish divergence is no longer active on the 4-hour chart. And so due to that reason, if that actually happens, it's possible we could perhaps see a slight drop to the downside. But as I said earlier, the room to the downside is still somewhat limited due to the fact that the daily RSI is still very oversold. And as for short-term support and resistance based on the Bitcoin order books across multiple different exchanges, right now we have a lot of buy orders sitting at around 25.5k to 25.6k, and we also have some more buy orders at around $25,000 per Bitcoin. And so basically at those price levels, we should expect a bit of short-term support. And as for resistance in the shorter term, looking at the sell orders, we have a lot of sell orders at around 26.5k to 26.6k, and another group of sell orders at around $28,000. And so once again, those price levels should act as a bit of short-term resistance for the price of Bitcoin. But anyway, now getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily ETH to US dollar chart, and right now the price of ETH is still running into this important area of support, which is sitting in between around 1640 to 1.7k. And if the price of ETH ends up confirming a break below that area of support, so below around 1640 to 1650, which is where the 38.2% Fibonacci level of support is sitting at, then in that case, the next important level of support is the 50% retracement level, which is sitting at around 1510 to 1520. And below that level, we have the important golden pocket area of support in between around 1360 to 1.4k. And if you're looking at the daily Ethereum price oscillators, as of right now, the MACD is still looking more bearish than bullish. But with that being said, it is moving towards a possible bullish cross, which could happen in a few days from now if we continue to see a bit more of a pause from this short-term bearish trend. And as for the daily Ethereum RSI, this is still technically trending to the downside. We have not yet broken the lower high, lower low price structure. But with that being said, obviously right now the daily Ethereum RSI is still very close to oversold territories after recently entering well into oversold territories. And as we can see, historically speaking, when the daily Ethereum RSI enters into oversold territories, this usually happens around some sort of local low in the price of ETH, or at the very least, it happens after some sort of dump or crash in the price of ETH. And generally speaking, we usually see either some choppy sideways price action, if not a slight bullish relief in the shorter term after the RSI enters into oversold territories on the daily time frame. But as I said for Bitcoin earlier in the video, and as I've said in recent videos here on the channel, once again, this signal by itself is not necessarily enough to confirm that the low is definitely in and we're about to reverse into another short-term bullish trend, because for that, we would need to see other confirmation signals, like for example, invalidating those larger bearish divergences on the daily Bitcoin charts in order to become more confident that we're really starting to flip more bullish again. So once again, at least for now, we're still technically trending more bearish in the shorter term. It's just in the imminent short term on the smaller time frames, like this 4-hour chart, for example, we're basically taking a bit of a pause from that short-term bearish trend due to factors like this short-term bullish divergence. And technically speaking, this bullish divergence remains intact. It remains active while the RSI is still trending to the upside, forming higher lows and higher highs, and more importantly, remaining above this ascending line of support. But as of right now, at the time of recording this video, the 4-hour Ethereum RSI is getting very close to testing this ascending line of support. And like I said for Bitcoin earlier in the video, if we start to see a breakdown in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI below this ascending line of support, forming lower lows and lower highs, then that could act as an invalidation signal for this bullish divergence on the 4-hour chart, which would basically mean we could potentially see a bit more bearish price action just in the short term here. But once again, even in that scenario, even if we do see a breakdown in the RSI and invalidate this 4-hour bullish divergence, the room to the downside is still somewhat limited based on the RSI on the daily chart, still very close to oversold territories. But once again, at least for now, on the 4-hour chart, this bullish divergence is still currently active. It's just potentially getting closer towards invalidating if this RSI breaks. But either way, if you want to know how to make a lot of money in crypto, no matter if the price is going to the upside, to the downside, or simply chopping around sideways like right now, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how to make money if the price is bullish or bearish using AI, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that's everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.